everyone, and welcome back to another anime episode review. I'm not redoing
Very
that.
professional.
I am the Rat, and this is the Rat's Nest. I'm joined as always by Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi everyone, I'll be professional here.
I hate you. Today we're talking about Mushoku Tensei 2 Isekai Utara Honki Dasu Part 2 Episode 8 subbed. Kyle, what'd you think about this episode? It was a pretty good episode.
You know what? Into the Labyrinth was a very good episode. We got to see some familiar old faces. We got to get an update on the current situation. We got a little bit of, adventuring in the dungeon that they go into. Pretty fun episode overall.
No, absolutely. I loved it. I loved every second of it. It's fast, especially I've seen a lot of talk online about this episode. Mainly the talk is about, and we'll talk about it ourselves. I do kind of want to comment on it. Rudeus' size, because this has kind of been a common thing kind of throughout the season, but just in the light novel, Rudeus is portrayed and looks older, and he just kind of looks younger in the anime, and the voice doesn't help where he, sounds younger too. But it wasn't breakneck fast. I did have to check the light novel to see how much was adapted in this one episode. Let me see where did it start? Did light novel 12 start at the beginning of this? Yeah, it did.
Because the episode, the episode was, it started with meeting up with Geese, and then it ended with the Roxy stuff.
Yeah, so that's a bit over, like, it's almost a third of the book, and we have 5 episodes for it. Like, it's fast, a little fast. I would say I'm happy with everything except, and I hope next episode, maybe they just wanted to end it here, and next episode we'll kind of get more of an elaboration on it. Roxy and her situation. I thought they were just gonna tease it at the end of this episode. And no, we just got to see Rudy save her, and they didn't even end it on like the fun. I'm kind of shocked at how fast they did the Roxy thing. I really hope next episode they go back and elaborate on it more. I don't think they will, probably, but good gravy. I hope they do. Anyhow, I guess before we get into it, how we do this is also I'm back from Hawaii. Yay, good to be back at home. Kyle's an anime only. I've read the light novels, everything. There are no spoilers. Kyle leads us through the episode, and I interject, and we give our thoughts on stuff. So Kyle, do you have any other beginning thoughts, or you wanna hop right into it?
I do want to comment on the Roxy thing real quick. We can circle back to it later. But as someone who's getting the anime-only treatment, I figured that wouldn't have been a thing that was dealt with this episode. I thought that
I didn't think it would be either.
It was more so, sowing the seeds, setting it in place. I thought, they brought it up to then, maybe, like, I expected maybe next episode, but I was surprised. I was a little surprised how fast they found her, which was neat, but then to find her and then, have her fight back and save her all happen, it was kind of quick. But
yeah,
we can circle back to them later.
Yeah, whenever we get there, I'll explain what I thought was gonna happen. Yeah, but let's just get into it, because I love this episode. It's
a good episode.
Getting to be back with Paul. Oh, it's so good to be back. I love Paul.
I might miss a few things because a lot of little things happen this episode. So
yeah, I'll be sure to fill in if there's anything important or whatever, or I find important.
Yeah.
The
episode starts. They get into, is it Bigger Eat?
Yeah, Bigger Eat.
Hey, I got it right. They get in there and like, the first thing we gotta do is look for Geese, the intel guy, and then Elanie's like, oh, never mind. They walk in the guild, because that's the first place they decided to go to. There he is. They talk with him. They catch up a little bit, and then I'm trying to remember what all they specifically say in that scene. They just kind of like banter a little bit. Geese asks like, stuff about Rudeus. Then Rudeus, I believe he asks like how like Paul is and how that's going, and Geese is like, he's not doing too hot. So after that, unless I'm missing anything in that scene.
Yeah, basically just going. Geese is like, oh, Rudy, you've grown up, you know.
Yeah, kind of like the general stuff you'd say to someone you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's good to see Geese again too.
I like Geese. I quite like Geese as a character. I think I like the VA's delivery for him.
Oh, he does.
I don't know why. It's just he has a good voice. The design is pretty funny. Not funny, but he has a good design too.
Picked a great voice for the final boss of Mushoku Tensei. Am I right?
I'm gonna assume that one's a bit and move on with life.
What, dude? You don't think Geese is the final boss?
After being
he's a little
toyed
monkey man.
After being toyed with for so long with these bits, I feel like I've gotten slightly better at picking up on which ones are true and which ones aren't. That one's no, there's no way.
Cool.
So after that, they walk in to wherever they're staying, and Paul's just, it was sad to see him at first. He was just slumped over like a desk, just kind of sitting there. There's Lilia and I don't know some girl, Shinra, from Fire Force.
Yeah, I haven't seen Fire Force. I don't know how funny that reference is, so I can't laugh at it.
Good, don't. I've pissed off some of your fans, maybe. And so they walk in, and he kind of like slumps up, and he's like, "Oh, like Rudeus, is that you? Like, am I dreaming?" Sorry, just like that. So they get their little reunion. It was really nice to see that take place. It was sad, whenever they were just talking, and he just started venting to Rudeus. He's like, we've been here for so long. I haven't found Zenith. I missed out on a lot of your stuff. I feel like I haven't been as good as I could be with everything recently. And he starts like hugging him and started crying. That's really sad, I like Paul.
It's hard to see Paul like this. I will say though, as compared to last time, he's still clean shaven. He's not drunk.
No,
he's down in the dumps, and I think understandably so. It's still hard to see Paul like that, and to see him kind of return to form later in the episode. It feels good to see him.
Yeah, like that time, when he does it, it's like it's more understandable. The first time when he hits like the real rock bottom, I mean, you kind of get it, but no, he was pretty far gone there. This time, it's just like, it's kind of like what they've done is insanity. They've kind of hit their head against this wall for a while, and not much progress has been made. Of course, your wife is missing in some random S-tier dungeon that teleports people around in it. You're obviously going to be a little sad about that.
Yeah. And then I like Rudy's thoughts here, where he's like, oh, like, I guess me being here like serves a lot of a purpose. Like just me being here physically is a good thing.
And do you think that's him trying to justify going against what the man god? I mean, he didn't bring up the man god, but because he was told he shouldn't come here. So do you think that's him trying to more so justify like why that was a good decision?
It could be, but I think that's pretty genuinely like.
I'm reading into it too hard, correct. I know, but
like.
I mean, he was right. Like, yeah, him being there, just sometimes that's all it takes for people. Just being there. That even like he didn't do anything. He just walked in a room, and it made Paul's day. So it's like, yeah, sometimes just being there for each other as people, it can go a long way. And I enjoyed how they conveyed that with getting to meet everyone again.
Yeah.
So I know after that, they talk for a little bit, and then they get two other people in it's the one, it's like a dwarf. What's his name?
Yeah, that's Tall Hand.
L.
Before that though, Paul sees Annalise. They kind of stare at each other. He locks in. He says sorry, and she says, I guess I share some blame for that. And so they make amends. They shake on it.
Yeah, no, I remember that, where he was like, he was kind of squatting or kneeling down, hugging Rudeus, and then what they did was kind of awkward. I forgot about this, where he sees Annalise, like he sprouts up and just walks and just stares like uncomfortably close at her face, all in the span of like 2-3 seconds. and it just cuts to they had a really weird Geese face
Yeah,
that they just
they saw like everyone like reacting to it, and Geese was just mogging.
kind of had I was gonna say a derpy face, but monking works as well. So then after that, Tall Hand and I don't know who the other person is.
Vieira. Well, it could be Vieira, it could be Shiera. I can't remember which is which. It's the sister of the other chick. Both of which were with Paul and Millis.
Okay, yeah. So then after that, they decide to talk about their game plan and what they're gonna do, and they start like, all right, now that everyone's here, and Rodeus is like, whoa, everyone, where's Roxy? And they're like, well, they're kind of vague about it at first.
Did you think Roxy died?
No. Well, no, so what I assumed was, well, okay, when the scene played out, because based on what they first said, I was like, oh, okay, Roxy's dead, I guess. But they could have done a better job wording it to her Davis.
Well, she teleported away in the dungeon for a month.
Which is
right?
fair, but like
she's been in the dungeon alone for a month, like assuming she's dead. Like how does someone survive that? Well, that's crazy. Almost like we need to see next episode how someone survived that.
Yeah. So what is it? One detail I really enjoyed was they bring that up, and Rudeus gets pissed. He gets absolutely angry at it, and it just kind of the anger just kind of it gets like he just kind of hits a numbing point where he's just standing there, and you can hear the other people's dialogue kind of fading out slowly as they're talking. Like he's just getting so lost in his own headspace about what's happening. And then Ellen Elise like grabs him by the shoulder and he like shakes him back to reality. I really enjoyed that scene.
I would also say I don't think it was anger. He was distraught over it.
Well, that's how I read it beforehand, because he had
He gets really depressed.
Yeah,
like if he got super depressed, like the only thing that Ellen Elise had to pull him out of that, because she knows that the only thing that would happen if he got super depressed is he would have to have sex with someone, because that's what happened with Sylphie. And she didn't want him to reach that point.
You make a convincing argument.
Thank you. I try.
So after he refocuses, I suppose to word it as he puts that thought on the back burner. Like, okay, nothing we can do about that now. Can't stress over something we don't have control over.
Can't spill poured milk,
So they go to talk about their plan for this S-tier teleporter dungeon, which it's they have an S-tier dungeon on their hands that she's lost in the 6th stratum of it. So as they're trying to work things out, they bring up the name and the type of dungeon, and Rudeus goes, oh, I actually have a book on that I got. He says that he has a book, and then Paul's like, well, where did you get such a powerful resource for this? And Rudeus like, I just borrowed it from the school.
I checked it out from the library.
Yeah, he checked out the MacGuffin from the library.
It's not a MacGuffin. It was introduced back in season 1 in the city of Roa. It's not a MacGuffin. It's not. It's an established plot point. It's Chekhov's gun. You wouldn't call the gun firing. Oh, well, that's convenient. No, it's not a plot. It's good. It's good writing.
So Rudeus not knowing much about kids, is that going to be like Chekhov's gun?
Yeah, it's gonna come back to bite him in the ass when he's a horrible father.
That one, no, that one's not sarcasm. I can believe that he'll be a bad dad for a little bit there. So anyway, they have this book, and it's I forget the whole context, but it was an adventurer who traversed it pretty far, and it's basically like a map, right? If it serves as a map, which
it's not a strict map. They didn't really explain. I don't think they'll go into detail on it. It's not like strictly a map of it. It's essentially a guide to the monsters and what you're going to find on the things,
like
as well as the teleportation circles themselves. It might have a rough location of where the circles are, but I think if nothing else, it has drawings of what each of the circles does. And so looking through, you won't have to guess, okay, is this circle that teleport down to the next floor, or is this circle teleport into the Cheeto slime pit? You don't know which is going where. But with the book, you do.
It's a guide that basically tells you these are the good berries, these are the bad berries, don't eat them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, it's a helpful resource. It lets them work their way further in. And with the book that they have, they're able to be more time efficient.
And there might be something of a map in it. I realize I've slept since I've read Volume 12, so.
Yeah. So then, after that, they plan on, like, they're going to set out, but before that, they go to bed, and unless I'm missing anything in between that, I remember it's where Lilia, Rudeus, and Paul are all in the same bed, and Lilia...
in the same bedroom. They're not in the same bed. Important clarification there. Things getting wild here.
Well, Lilia and Paul were in the same bed.
Well, yeah, they're husband and wife.
Half.
You're like, oh, hey, dude, I saw your mom sleeping with your dad last night. Like, okay, sorry, my parents have a good relationship. Cope? Like, wild to me.
So they're just, she's asking about Aisha, which I like their little banter there, where she's like, oh, I hope that she's not being too selfish, and Rudeus is like, well, it kind of helped if she was a little bit more selfish, and and before that he says something along the lines of, she takes care of all the chores, I don't know what we do without her, and then Paul just kind of leans on his bed, chin up on his arm, kind of smiling, and they're like, well, why are you so fucking happy? And he then turns the conversation to, so you had sex, my son, right?
No, first you have a heartfelt moment where he's like, it's good to see my son and my wife being able to chat like this.
Half wife.
Full wife, you idiot. You think Paul orders his wives in terms of importance? He loves them both equally. Thank you very much.
Which one did he cheat on?
Look, okay, if you want me to go on a rant about polygamy, I'll go on a talk about polygamy. But I'm preferring to wait for that until Rudeus gets his 5th and 6th weed-smoking girlfriends, okay?
Okay. The
2 can barely be considered polygamy. That's all I'm saying. 2 is like normal.
I'm sorting through this. The 6th girlfriend's gonna be true. The 5th one's not. There, boom.
The 6th girlfriend's gonna be true, and the 5th, so he's not gonna have a 5th weed smoking girlfriend, but he will have a 6th.
Yes.
How is that possible?
So then Rudeus starts talking to Paul about Gex, and because Paul kind of prods, but it's like, so you have a kid, huh? That means you've done the deed, and Lilia gets embarrassed about it, and Paul, I'm pretty sure Paul is just like, we slept together before. Who cares if we talk about it now? I want to hear what Rudeus has to say about it. And she gets like flustered and embarrassed, and
no. He says, oh, here, let me. Well, I can't pull the quote from the anime. Let me pull the quote from the light novel real quick.
Adjusts glasses. Let me look at that. Oh my God.
Let me get the quote from the light novel real quick. Let me find the quote from the light novel real quick. So Paul says, I feel pretty confident when it comes to sex. You can ask me anything. I might not look it now, but I played around quite a bit when I was younger. And then Rudy's thoughts are, it looked like I had no other choice. Guess I just have to go along with him. I had always kind of wanted someone I could have open conversation with on the subject. All right, then, there's a few questions I'd like to ask. Lilia says, honestly, Lord Rudeus, I can't believe you're going along with this. Paul said, she talks like that, but she's pretty aggressive in bed. And Rudy says, oh, yeah, you did mention she's been the one to approach you before. Why don't you explain that in a little more detail? And then Lilia was like, Lord Rudeus, would the both of you please stop? My goodness.
Does she really say, my goodness?
Yeah. My goodness. Lilia glanced between the two of us as she spoke, sighing as she did so. Still, she did have a smile on her face. We continued talking after that well into the night. The great family. I think it's a great little family moment there.
Yeah.
Paul and Rudy have always bonded over that stuff. 2 peas in a pod, right?
something wholesome to have is like just a small moment in between meeting them and setting out to the dungeon, which basically brings us to, I don't know what time point it was, but basically the second half of the episode where they actually enter the dungeon. They do some basic dungeon stuff. So trying to remember the sequence of events where they first go in, they're walking. I think they're just like talking like the book or whatever. A monster, like a spider or something, approaches. Elise goes to attack it, and Paul's like, I got this. He kills it.
Guys, I'll take care of it.
The goat has to show off a little bit, so
he does.
He does handle it, and they're walking. Rudeus is like, he's totally just showing off because he hasn't seen me in a while. He's just showing off. He's just being a showboat right now. So then they get a little further in, and I think there's a room that they get to where there's like 2 teleporter circles and a bunch more spiders. Elise, Paul go to attack, and Tall Hand basically says, Rudeus, most of your bag can't be used in this dungeon.
Yeah.
So then
if you use fire, we're gonna suffocate. If you use earth, it's gonna collapse.
If you use water.
Ice.
It was something like if you use water, something else would happen too.
Well, it would make the ground not sturdy. It would mess up the earth still.
Yeah.
So you got to use ice.
And then he uses ice, and it works out pretty well.
I think it's really interesting. I think that it's cool to bring realism like that into a fantasy world.
Oh, I would agree. Like
it also takes it out of its main element of earth.
It does, and it's. What was I gonna say? It's interesting when characters are put in situations where they can't always just fall back on their go-to. Like, they have to adapt. I like seeing characters have to adapt like that, and I think Rudeus is a smart enough lad to adapt in that situation. Because, he has access to the ice magic, so just being told that it's like, oh, okay, I can plan about that in the future, or I can plan around it. I know what I'm limited to in this dungeon.
Yeah. Which,
hey, that might come back. Maybe they fight something big that they're not able to beat or something, and he has to cave it in or cause a fire. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if that were to come back. Although
he has to whip his cock out for it.
So anyway, they go a little bit further in, and they reach a point where they go to take a break. I think they're on the second stratum.
On the second floor at that point.
Yeah, they take a break on the second stratum. And Paul's locked in. He's not really saying much. Rudeus is like, damn, for most of the first stratum, we'd stop. He'd ask how I was doing, ask about just general things. But right now, he doesn't say a word. I guess we have to be more attentive now that we're here. So
one thing that I don't think this episode really portrayed was the amount of time they've been in the labyrinth for about a day plus at this point. I think, if I'm remembering correctly. What do you mean, the hell?
I didn't think that they said. I don't remember them saying for a day. Maybe they did.
No, they didn't. Like that's what I'm saying. I don't think the episode really portrayed how long.
That's what
the labyrinth is. It's days at a time. Like, they have not been in this labyrinth for like 3 minutes.
Well, that's
why their progress has been so slow. And even then, they're only moving this fast because it's just the first floor, 2, the second floor, what they've been on before. Plus, they have the book to help guide them. They've been in the labyrinth for a day plus at this point.
That's why I'm saying what the hell, because I thought they were in there for a few hours.
No. Labyrinths aren't that easy, bud.
Well, the first stratum with the book, I thought it would only be like a few hours.
Well, yeah, they did, but at that point, it's the end of the second.
Yeah, true.
Because then they go down to the third after.
Yeah, they go to the third, and as they go about walking down there, Rudeus just he kind of, I've been saying this a lot, kind of locks in. They're just walking. He looks over at the wall. He starts walking to it and starts like rubbing the wall. And Elise is like, "What are you doing?" And then we transition to Roxy defending herself, which was very sudden. It's a pretty basic scene. She's like got her back to the wall. She's using some different types of magic to protect herself. What she's doing isn't really working. She kills a bunch of them, but more just keep on coming through the teleporter circle. They're breaching her defenses. She's about to get jumped. She falls over. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." I think she pisses herself out of fear.
Dear viewer, I assure you, the scene of Roxy pissing herself is absolutely necessary to the plot.
Why didn't you set that one up like ages ago? You know, the rocks. You could have set that one up like the ED one.
You think I wanted to set that one up? You think that's something in the story I actively remembered? How you think I was twiddling my fingers and twinkling my toes before this episode being today's the day? Look, Kyle. I might be a fan of mid-show, and I am. I very much am. Does that mean that I assure you this scene is integral to the plot?
Like, to answer your question, it would have been funny because it would have caught me off guard a lot more.
What, to say you're not ready for the Roxy pissing arc?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I would have thought that was a joke, gone into this.
All right, well,
They
you want a
had-
joke so bad?
Oh no, please
You
don't
didn't
just
even
spoil
notice
it.
the second too long establishing shot of Rudeus's ass whenever Tall Hand was introduced.
They did that.
You didn't notice it. You didn't. I wasn't gonna bring it back up. You wanted
Why'd
the
you
joke,
notice
so
it?
there you go.
Why'd you notice it?
Huh?
Why'd you notice it?
Did I say something?
So
Aren't
anyway,
you the one that leads us? Yeah. Get back to work. Get back to work, Kyle.
so she almost dies, and she closes her eyes. She's about to die, and she opens them, and everything's frozen. You know, like there's some like like a skull like chips off of one of the, I guess like a golem, and like it falls over. Yeah, everything's like frozen. And Rudeus walks in, and Roxy sees him, and that's I forget what they say to each other, but that's about the end of the episode.
Rudy's just like, oh, I'm so glad you're safe. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, he lies, and then it's the end of the episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, great episode. I loved it. I really hope at the beginning of next episode they show what Roxy went through, because I thought in the light novel we get at least one scene, maybe two. What it is, how she survived for a month, and I'm fine telling you this because you would know at this point in the story, and you'll probably learn at the beginning of next episode too. Hopefully, I'm not gonna say you will. I'm saying hopefully you will. But what it was is she survived that long. She creates water using magic for herself, right? So she can drink that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why she's getting weaker is she doesn't have any food. But you can survive for longer without food than you can with water. The monsters in there aren't really conducive to eating. This ain't Dungeon Macy.
How long has she been gone for again?
A month.
A month without food for a month?
Yeah.
I thought, but again, I know this is the real world. I know that you can go like a week without food, maybe.
Sweaty. She's a demon race. I think it's a week without water. It's roughly a month without food, typically. I could be remembering that incorrectly.
I thought the stats were even lower. Like for she's a demon. I get ya. But like I thought you could only go without water for a few days. You go without food for a week. That's what I always thought.
No. Water is a week.
Maybe I'm wrong.
And food's like a month or so. But yeah, so and what she does is she creates holes in the wall using earth magic, and she hides in there to where the monsters can't get her. And every once in a while she'll come out to where the teleportation circles are and do like we saw in this episode. She'll try to fight off the monsters and try to get into a teleportation. And she's gone around the entire floor trying to get back at the teleportation circles, trying to find the one back up to the second floor or whatever. And she can't find it. Everyone that she gets to, because it's hard for her to get to it. You know, she's a talented mage, but this is the third floor of an S-rank dungeon.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be difficult. And so getting to these, and she's just kind of been teleporting across the floor. She hasn't found the circle back up or even the circle down yet. Because, you know, she accidentally stepped on a teleportation circle, sent someone random. So she has no clue where she is. And so she'll occasionally go out and try to kill monsters like that. And then in this case, they kept coming out of the thing. So what's happened at this point is the monsters have grown super used to her and super aggravated. Like they want her dead. They've wanted her dead anyways, but they really, really want her dead. And so like this was what we see here, right? Her little final stand, which is you know similar to her final stand in the light novel, is it's the monsters like, okay, we're taking this chick down. So
They
that's
set
where
a
you see
trap,
like
basically?
the reinforcements keep coming in, and at that point she's weakened, she's starving, she's just had water. You know, she can't go back and recover her mana. That's whenever she goes up against the back wall and she tries to. That's whenever she gets like horrified, as she doesn't have mana to make an earth wall to hide herself like she has been. And then, you know, she's pushed to her extreme. Rudy comes in and helps her. I really, really hope we get to see how she survived. I think I want to say I think we will. I hope we will, because I don't think this episode paints Roxy in as good of a light as she deserves. And I mean, I'll be the first person to stand up and say that I am not the biggest Roxy fan in the world. I like her. I love her. I love her very much. But I mean, like she's certainly no heiress, right? At least in my mind. You know, maybe this is getting a little too into it, but like I think that they need to show what Roxy went through here, because it's great for her character.
I would agree, or at least like explain it and show like some stills about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping they will, and they also, because they have to come back to this stupid scene, because one of the funniest scenes in the entire series happens right here, and they didn't show it. So they have to. They didn't even give us the line. I don't know if they're going to give us the. There's a line and then there's a scene. They didn't give us the line this episode. I was hoping they would. I was seeing the scene play out, and I was like, okay, they better give us the line. But I don't know. I don't think they're giving us the line. I'm hoping we get to see the scene at the beginning of next episode. I think it would have been a great cliffhanger here, because it was the end of a chapter in the light novel. But we'll just have to see on that.
It was weird how they did it. I mean, it felt like first of all, it felt pretty convenient. You know, giving it some more time would have been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I love the anime, right? But I will say, I think this is an area, at least to me, where it kind of tripped. I think that showing Roxy in this kind of, and I get it's all at the beginning of the volume, right? But I think that you can slow it down a little bit more. You know, maybe spend a little more time in the labyrinth, maybe spend a little time explaining, okay, these are the monsters you're going to see, because we get in-depth explanation as to the monsters in the labyrinth. In the light novel, you obviously can't adapt everything from the light novel in. I think you kind of maybe slow this episode down a little bit, end it with showing Roxy and kind of one of her routines, have next episode be the rescue. Maybe next episode they come down into the third floor. Right? Maybe, you know, next episode kind of starts with Rudy being like, oh, Paul's getting more serious. It's like, okay, this is going to be a little more of a lock-in episode. We know that what Roxy's getting into on the third floor. We've seen her kind of like powerlessly struggle against it. So we're like, okay, the third floor is a little more serious. And then we come down to the third floor next episode, and we get Roxy and Rudy's reunion. I don't know. I think that pacing would have worked a little. I don't know what they're cooking pacing-wise for the final episodes. Of the season. I do wish that they had shown what Roxy had been through. I think that showing her and Rudy's reunion this episode, like the episode they get to Begarit and meet Paul, I think that's a little fast. Personally.
It was pretty fast. I mean, I
love the episode, but I do think it's a misstep.
I can't speak from that regard, but I did like the episode. Just the ending felt very. They could have had the cliffhanger of him looking at the wall. You know, if they padded out the dungeon a little bit more, he like walks up to the wall, he puts his hand on it, and he just says, "Roxy," and like it cuts there or something.
No. What he needs to say is
the line.
Wait, what he needs to say is he say, "Father, I feel the presence of God."
That what he says in the is that the line?
Oh, I really
is that
hope.
The line?
I really hope.
Is that the line?
I will be so disappointed if we don't get Paul's recounting of it. Well, if we get to see it in action, Paul can still recount it.
We'll just have to wait and see, because that was the episode. A good episode with an ending that I don't hate the ending, but
I mean it was good. I think it could have been better.
Obviously.
Well, if you're still here, then, if you're this far in the video, then obviously that means that there's something you like. So make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment telling us what you thought about this episode. Thank you all for watching. We certainly hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. You have to say bye, Kyle.
I did. I said bye.
Well, then it pick up, so say it again.
Bye.
I hate you.